I'm Lee and this is my podcast about my handmade life. I'm on Instagram as Louleigh_ and on Ravelry as Louleigh. I have an Etsy shop where I sell knitting needle cases and notions pouches at Shop Louleigh, and you can find links to all of my online places at louleigh.com. Welcome! I'm so excited to talk to you today. This is a bumper episode about socks, so yeah, a lot of sock content, nothing else. Today I'm wearing my Markley jersey, which is a pattern by Elizabeth Doherty, and I actually have my Scout tee underneath. I've just thrown this over the top because it was a little bit cooler, so I think I'm doing quite well on the Me Made stuff today for Me Made May. But yeah, mainly today I have, well, all I have to talk about today is socks, so if that's not your bag then I shall see you next time. Just before I launch into socks though, this is community news. We have the magnificent Louleigh Yoke-along happening in the Louleigh Ravelry group, and that's going until September. So if you're knitting a yoked garment, then please drop over and come and join us. That would be really good fun. And quarter 3 for the Advent mini skein swap is open for you to join up now. So if you want to join in and swap mini skeins with us so that you have enough for an advent calendar at the end of the year, then there is a link in the show notes and you can pop over and sign up in the Louleigh Ravelry group. I think that closes, I think I said the 1st of June or something like that. Yeah, so come and join in. If you're collecting mini skeins, it doesn't have to be for an advent project or for your own advent calendar. If you're just collecting them for a blanket or something, then please come and join in. That would be brilliant. But anyway, on with the socks. Part of the reason that I'm really excited about socks this morning is that I have literally just cast off a new design and I've almost finished writing up the pattern for it, and I can't show it to anybody yet. It's downstairs drying. I'm working on a new sock collection, and so I'm going to be doing a shout out for test knitters in probably early June, so if you're interested in that then please contact me on Ravelry. But I do have another design of mine to talk about today. These are the ankle socks with pinstripes, and this is a pattern that I did for Molly Makes last year, and the rights for this pattern have reverted back to me now, so it's going to be on sale in my Ravelry shop. So I've knitted up a new sample, yeah, and taken new photos, and that is all ready to go today. It was designed as a beginner friendly pattern. It just has this little wee detail down each side of the foot, just to make it a little bit more exciting. But if you're new to knitting socks, then this is a good pattern to start with. And it's a great way to use up bits and pieces of leftovers. I think even for my size I only needed about 50 grams of the main colour, and then you can just use a little 10 gram mini for the toes. There was something else I was going to tell you about that. There's 2 more things I was going to tell you about that. I do have show notes here, but I have a pair of socks sitting on top of them, so yeah. So the first thing that I was going to tell you about these socks is that this yarn was donated for this pattern by Kelly of Lay Family Yarns, and she has a number of really lovely sock sets in her shop. So if you want to treat yourself to special ankle socks with pinstripes yarn, then there'll be a link to her shop just below this in the down bar. Is that what it's called? Yeah. And the other thing is that the pattern will be on special until next Friday, which is the 24th of May, so you can get it for half price. And there'll be a link to that in the down bar as well if you want to pop over and help yourself. If you're a newsletter subscriber, check your inbox because I have a special treat for you as well. So yeah, that's ankle stocks with pinstripes, and that's in my Ravelry store now. The next socks that I have to talk to you about are my Pebbles and Pathway socks, and I have showed these to you on the podcast before when they were in progress, but I've finished them now. This is a pattern by Marceline Smith of Hey Brown Berry, and I have knitted them in Knit Pick Stroll. And these were going to be charity socks, but I have found a very deserving recipient of them. I really enjoyed this pattern. It was good fun. It was simple enough to do when I was out and about, and I find the pattern repeat was quite moreish. I just sort of felt like doing one more section and just do one more section before I put them down. I did put the pattern on the back of the socks, partly because I just really like that. I think there's no reason why I would just put them at the front of the sock. I think it looks really good on the back as well. And also, garter stitch has quite a different gauge from stocking stitch. The stitches are kind of more of a horizontal rectangular shape than stocking stitch, and so it just means that there's sort of no gauge issues between the front and the back of the socks. Did I say I knitted these in Knit Pick Stroll? Yeah, I'm really pleased with them. I would knit this pattern again. It was really good fun. So yeah, Pebbles and Pathways. So if you've been watching for a while, you'll also know that I like to have a really simple sock tube on the go. Basically, I just have a whole ball of yarn or a whole skein of yarn, and I knit the entire 100 grams into a tube, and then I make Afterthought Everything socks. And this is my most recent sock tube, or one of the pairs of socks from it. These are about a size 4, and I did a 60 stitch circumference, and I managed to get 2 pairs of socks out of this tube, but I have already gifted the other pair. I had to do the cuffs on the other one in the contrast colour as well. The main colour is a ball of opal yarn, and I have forgotten what colourway it was, but the mini skein was one that I got from Amy Florence of Stranded Dye Works when I met her at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, not this year but last year, and it just worked really well in with these socks. So I have cast on another tube sock, and I love a sock blank, especially for making tube socks. I like one that's completely random, because I put the sock blank into my bag, into my little sack here, and then I don't look at it, so whatever comes out is just really exciting. It's like watching a film and not knowing what's going to happen at the end. So I was gifted a sock blank, which I'm not going to show you, by Terry from A Fine Fish Yarns, and I have just started knitting away on that. I've got another sock blank that I also got at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and that's completely random as well, and I'm very tempted to cast that on, but I shall just keep working on this one until it's all used up. And as I say, I have no idea what's going to come out of the bag next, and I find that really exciting. A while ago on Instagram I was talking about the Hairy Man socks, because some of them have come back in need of repair, and I've recently finished a new pair of Hairy Man socks as well. And so I've knitted 4 pairs of socks for the Hairy Man now. He's about a size 11, so it's a bit of an epic task, but he's a very grateful recipient of socks, so I thought I would talk about the socks that I've already knitted for him. The first pair of socks is currently in the North Sea somewhere, but I shall shimmy over this way and put a picture just here for you. So I made them out of West Yorkshire spinners. I think the thing to say about Hairy Man socks is that he takes them offshore with him, and he usually takes 2 sets of clothes which he rotates through and sends to the laundry every day, and then they come back ready for the next day. So he'll rotate through 2 sets of socks the whole time he's offshore, and they go through an industrial washer and dryer. There is nothing precious about the treatment of these socks. So the first pair of socks that I made for him are the West Yorkshire Spinners socks, and I think this is their pigeon colourway. I used the fish lips kiss heel pattern for this, and I also used their guidance for fitting these socks as well, and this is his least favourite pair in terms of fit. So they still look pretty much like they do in the photo that you see here, even though that they've been washed and worn a few times, but he doesn't put them on that 2-day rotation because they're just not his favourites. Well, I suppose he will have this time. And so they haven't been as heavily worn as the other socks that I'm going to show you now. He likes the length of them. He likes a long sock that actually comes up to the top of his, well, comes out the top of his boot. But as I say, these ones just don't get worn as much because they just don't fit him as well. They're too narrow in the circumference, I think. So these are the next pair of socks that I made for the Hairy Man. These are made out of a ball of opal yarn, and then I used a mini skein just to make it interesting, more for me than for him. I used a little mini skein of some Eden Cottage yarn that I had, and I'm not sure what the fibre content was for that yarn. I'm pretty sure it had nylon in it. Might have been a merino nylon, but don't quote me on that. These ones have been through an industrial washer and dryer over 100 times now. So I think the opal yarn is standing up really nicely. It looks really good, but I have repaired the heel a couple of times, and as you can see here, they've come back for another repair. That's why these ones aren't in the North Sea. At the moment, well, until the most recent pair, this was his favourite, and I think it's just that they've stood up well over time. But the heel fit was a little bit tight. I think I used the same circumference as the fish lips kiss socks, but I used a heel flap and gusset just to see if that would fit him better. He usually wears through on his socks right at the bottom of the heel here, and you can see that I have Swiss darned that, but they've come away a couple of times where I've picked up stitches. Yeah, so what I'm going to do with these ones is to cut out this section of the heel completely and to re-knit it in a nice solid opal yarn that I have. So yeah, but as I say, I think that the fact that these have been through an industrial washer and dryer over 100 times and they still look really good says something about the longevity of opal yarn. He actually had to go and rescue these from the laundry room because the laundry people saw that there was a hole and had thrown them out. And so he went down and explained that his socks were hand knitted and that they came home for repair. Yeah, so I'm sure after that he probably became a crazy sock man. These are the third set of socks that I knitted for the Hairy Man, and just for reference I'm going to put a picture here. I'll shimmy over again to show you what they look like when I first knitted them. They haven't been as heavily heavily weared. They haven't been as heavily worn as the last pair of socks that I showed you. I would hazard a guess to say that they've been through the industrial washer and dryer fewer than 100 times. But yeah, this was a yarn. I think it was from Ladybug Yarns, and it was a bamboo merino yarn, and I was really interested to see how these would hold up for the hairy man. He liked the bamboo content because they did wick moisture away from his feet, but as you can see, they haven't been treated in a fashion that has meant they've stayed in pristine condition. I don't think that's any fault of the yarn. I think that this type of hand-dyed yarn is just not designed to put through an industrial washer and dryer repetitively in the way that the hairy man does. You might be able to see down here that I have already repaired these socks twice, I think now, and they have holes in the toe as well. So I'm going to retire these socks now. This was another pair of favourites. I think I made the heel flap longer on these ones, and made a longer gusset on these as well. So they were a favourite while they lasted. So the last pair of socks that I have to show you is a pair that you've actually seen quite recently. I didn't finish these that long ago, and I used opal yarn for these. They haven't been offshore yet. They have been heavily worn around home, so I just put them through a normal washing machine, and then I actually hang these on sock blockers to dry, just because it's nice to be able to fold the hairy man's socks up and put them nicely back in his drawer and have them look all lovely for him. And he only has the one pair that fits on these sock blockers, so it's kind of an easy thing to do. For these ones, I used Kate Atherley's, is it called Custom Socks? Her book. And I used the advice exactly from that book, and these are by far and away his favourite fitting socks, without a shadow of a doubt. So I followed the directions for fitting socks exactly, and these, as I say, they've been heavily worn. As soon as they're clean, he puts them on again. I used an opal yarn for the main body of the sock, just because we've discovered that that is really hard wearing when he is offshore. And for the toes, I thought I would try a little experiment, and I have used some Louleigh Pure, so there's no nylon in this, it's just a high twist merino. So we'll see how we get on with that. And you may have noticed that I have bought the hairy man his own special pair of sock blockers. Partly because the hairy man has really large feet, and if I'm going to be excited about knitting and repairing socks for him, I want to be excited about sock blockers as well. So I think these are as much for me as they are for him. So based on all of that, I have determined that it's best to knit hairy man socks in commercial sock yarn. So I have just freed up a pair of sock knitting needles, and I have this very scruffy ball of trekking, and I'm going to make his next pair of socks out of this yarn. So it'll be interesting to see how this one wears. I got this years and years ago and always intended to make myself a pair of gloves, but obviously I haven't. So here it is being donated to the hairy man. I thought I would make the heels in this teal colourway. I think they look quite good together. So yeah, the other thing that I found downtown, I'm not sure if I was talking about it here or on Instagram, was the thread that you can get for repairing socks. And I had been mentioning, I think it might have been in the comments on YouTube, that the darning thread that you can get for repairing socks isn't readily available here. And then I ambled downtown to Yorkshire Trading not long afterwards, and they had a whole rack of it in about 12 to 18 different colours sitting on their counter. So I have bought myself a little stash of darning thread, because as I say, there's that little patch under the hairy man's heel, and that wears out first, and so I thought it would be quite handy just to have a little stash of darning thread so that I can Swiss darn it as soon as it starts to wear. So yeah, I think this is, oops, I've got that one upside down. This is just by Scandafil. I'm not sure if that's a brand that you're aware of. And as I say, it was in multiple colours in the shop locally to me, so that was really good. If you've been watching my podcast since the very beginning, you'll know that I used to show off my finished socks on some sock blockers made out of a cardboard carton with Walker's crisps on the side. And that was my first ever pair of sock blockers. I didn't think that I needed sock blockers except for on the podcast for display purposes only. However, since then I've started designing socks, and I've also started making socks much more often for other people, and it's really nice to be able to block the socks, because as you can see, when you do block socks, it gives them a nice shape and they just look really nice for gifting and for presentation. So I've developed a little bit of a collection of sock blockers. The first ones that I got were in my size, and they're these plastic ones, and I got these from Sockaplocky. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, so I shall put the name of them down here. They also make really fun stitch markers, which I might have some of already, and I think they're based in Finland. And I really like these sock blockers because of the big holes in them. They're easy to hang up. We have a pulley made over our oven with a couple of hooks attached, and they're really easy to hang up, and things dry on these really quickly. I think also they make at least some of their sock blockers out of scrap plastic leftovers and offcuts. I'm not sure if these ones are, but I know there is an option on their website to have sock blockers that's made out of waste. Things from Sockaplocky come beautifully packaged, and it's all recycled packaging and compostable packaging. They send your sock blockers wrapped up in newspaper that looks like it's been ironed. It's just so neat. You almost don't want to open it. The packages from them are really special. I think these were kind of on the expensive end, and that was partly because of postage. And also they have kind of a long skinny shape, which I don't know, it's kind of okay, but I think there are some sock blockers, this sounds like a weird thing to say, there are some sock blockers that will block your socks in a much cuter shape. I do like the long leg on these, so you can knit quite a long leg on your socks and it'll just pop off the top there quite easily. So yeah, those are the first sock blockers that I've got. The second lot that I got, actually I've got two sets of these, and I got them because they're just so cute. These ones you might not be able to see very well, because I got them in a clear, in fact you can't see them well at all. Because I got them in the clear colour. These come from Yarnistry, and I have them in 2 sizes, and I really liked the shape of the foot on these. Can you even see that? Hold on, how can I show you clear sock blockers? if I try and get it so that, there we go, maybe you can see that now. Yeah, so this is the smallest size. As I say, they're from Yarnistry, and I have them in this size 1 to 3 UK, and then in size 4 to 6. I kind of wish that I hadn't got them in the clear colour, not because you can't see them, but because they scratch up quite quickly, just from use. But I do like the shape that, and these ones have this cute elephant on them. I do like the shape of these sock blockers. The thing that I don't like about these sock blockers, let's see if I can get the light to reflect here, is the way they taper out at the top, and so they kind of stretch out the cuff of your sock. And I also don't like the positioning of this little hanging bump, because I tend to make the legs on my socks quite long, and so if your sock is longer than the blocker, you can't just have it go off the top. I find I have to scrunch them down a little bit to fit them on these sock blockers. But apart from that, I think they're cute, super cute. They're available here in the UK, so the postage is not astronomical. And they come in lots of fun colours and styles. The last sock blockers, I am sock blocker obsessed now. I really like them. Like I say, if you're gifting socks, they just make them look really nice. The last sock blockers I got because I wanted a size that was suitable for the hairy man, and I found these on Etsy again. I may have got this wrong, but I think they're based in Poland, and these ones are wooden. And I think of all the ones I have, these are probably my favourite. I picked this pattern because the hairy man is an engineer by trade, and this kind of felt engineering. Maybe they look like bubbles. Yeah, so this is their extra large size. I like that there's lots of empty space so that the socks dry out relatively quickly. I hang mine over my oven, which is on all the time, and so socks don't take long to dry at all. I've dried socks over the oven on cardboard sock blockers, and you know they're not wet enough for the cardboard to go damp and mushy. Yeah, so they're from Woodco, which I think they're in Poland. These were actually, I thought they were really reasonably priced. They're probably the cheaper of all of the sock blockers that I've shown you. I like the shape of them. So I think they make your, maybe if I show them this way, I think they make your finished sock look a cute shape, which apparently is important to me. I also like that the leg is quite long, and also if you make a sock that's longer than the actual blocker, there's nothing to obstruct the leg when it pops off the top. So yeah, I think if I was going to have favourite sock blockers, they would be, if I hold them this way, then the word is back to front. Yeah, so these are probably my favourite, and if I was going to start ordering sock blockers willy-nilly from scratch, these are probably the ones that I would get again. And they come in, they have loads of cute patterns on them. So yeah, that is my sock blocker review, and that is all I have to talk to you about today. It's been really nice to come and witter on about socks with you for a while. I'm so pleased that you would come and spend some of your time with me. Pop over to the Ravelry group, come and join us there. It's always exciting to see who's watching and to hear about your projects, and you can come and join in the yoke along or the mini skein swap over there. We'd be really pleased to have you in the group. If you've enjoyed yourself, then like and subscribe below, and I shall see you next time. Cheerio!